Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be unboxing and reviewing this Eufy 360 security camera with a floodlight. So this is going to be part 2 of my series here of unboxing and setting up the security system for my home. And the reason I chose Eufy is for this right here, where it is a free service once you purchase the security system. You have no monthly fees after, and that is one thing that drove me up the wall. Let's go ahead and jump into the unboxing on this guy. I heard about this through Jerry Rig Everything, and I knew this I think was kind of what sold me on it. If it wasn't the, if you didn't go see the previous video, the dual camera doorbell. There'll be a link in the upper right hand corner there to go see this video here. That was the first one setting up your home base and everything like that. This video is going to be just the floodlight and 360 camera. So first thing you see when you open up the box is it's pretty basic here. So we got a big piece of plastic protecting everything, holding it in place. It's nice that they put a little bit of foam pad up there to protect our little plastic ball. Now you can see our pan tilt camera. So if you worked in security at all, you will have heard of PTZ, pan tilt zoom. So this does not have a zoom feature, but it does have a 2K full HD camera here. And this is our device. This is quite hefty. This is a solid camera setup here. Also inside of the box is this here little box, and then we got our desk kit packet, and that is it. Let's go ahead and dive into what's in this package here. So you open this guy up here, and we have a, looks like a cleaning cloth, hardware and mounting accessories, some wire nuts and screws, things like that. We have our Eufy support guide here, a Eufy 24/7 monitoring sticker. You can put this in a window, so people, if they're looking through the windows of your home, they might see this and be like, maybe I shouldn't, because they have security in their home. And a quick start guide. Let's go ahead and open up this Ziploc bag here that has a bunch of accessories in it. So we have a mounting plate with a large screw, a ribbon on a hook. From what I've seen, this is to help hold the camera up while you are wiring everything. You got 3 large wire nuts, 3 small wire nuts, a USB charger if you're going to try and run this thing wireless or on battery power. I don't know if that's actually an option, but we have a little USB cord here and 2 little discs with an adhesive on one end. Let's go ahead and dig into our quick start guide and figure out what those are. Oh, it's a cap for your screws. I am so sorry everyone. I just did this entire unboxing without my top-down camera running. So this is the contents of our box here. We have our security camera with the floodlights. We have a sticker and a little support guide. You have your strap for installation and hanging the device. We have our mounting screw and plate, a charging cable, large and small wire nuts. This is our central screw cap, from what I understand. Then we have some various screws and things like that, cleaning cloth, and a quick start guide. Alright, so in the video that I watched about this before I purchased it, he showed setting it up while it was mounted to the wall. I recommend setting it up here in your home first. That's why they have this little USB cable, is so you can provide power to the camera while you set it up. The battery bank here, we're going to go ahead and plug in the camera. Go ahead and scan our QR code. attention. Don't look straight into the light. We got the power on. Now it says press the sync button. Flashing red. And now we'll press and hold the sync button on the back here until we hear a beep. Oh, that's quite the beep. Now we'll go back to our front and we're flashing blue. It's now connecting to the camera. We'll set it up on our Wi-Fi.
Connecting to the Wi-Fi network. Please wait.
Hey guys, quick interjection in the video here. I'm gonna jump cut this because it had issues connecting with my Wi-Fi. Make sure you're connecting to a 2.4 gigahertz network. If it has both, you probably need to separate that network so that it has the 5 gigahertz and the 2.4 gigahertz separate.
Setup was successful.
Wonderful. We'll go ahead and hit next. And we'll say where it is. This is gonna be mounted on the garage. And then it gives you a step-by-step instructions on how to install this. So first thing it says to do is make sure you unplug this USB port. And then here on the back, you have this seal. So where this is going to be out in the weather, you want to make sure that this is tightly sealed. So you want to push it down real good, make sure everything is flush here to get a good seal so that you don't have any leaks and have any electronic issues with this in the wintertime, in the rain, and any other weather event. Let's go ahead and take this guy outside. Time to kick these trucks into 4-wheel drive. All right, you guys, so on this guy, you'll bring your strap all the way around it and then run the hook through the loop and then pull it tight, and this you'll use to hang it while you're wiring your camera up. So let's go ahead and go up there and take down the old one. All right, you guys, first thing you're gonna need to do is remove the screw right here in the center. Mine had a little rubber cap on it. You just flick that away, and then of course, before this step, you want to make sure you have the power off. There we go. All right, and then you'll use this guy here. We'll start by moving our old bracket here from the previous one here. And this plate will go inward into the casing here. All right, and this is why you need to leave this plastic cover on, is so you can hang this guy there and the lens is going to rest against the building while you do your wiring here. And one other thing you could do to make the system even a little safer is to screw your ground to the plate here as well. You twist it around, make sure that these two are level at the ends, not further down like this. Got all the wires tucked back in. And one thing to note is you do have a rubber gasket here in a notched out part. That is going to create a seal on this to keep all of this sealed in. You slide it in, you can feel it creating that seal. We'll tuck all our wires in here. All right. We can now take off our ribbon. And now we're ready. Adjust your lighting however you'd like it. These have a quick release on them, so we're not pointing straight at the neighbor's house. We'll point this further forward like that. You can adjust it up and down as needed as well. These are individually adjustable too. Look at that. And there it is. I almost forgot. This guy goes over the screw. Just like that. Beautiful. Nice. All right, you guys, and there it is installed. Honestly, once we got it set up here inside on my kitchen table, got it set up on the Wi-Fi, the installation outside took less than 15 minutes. I even made a couple of mistakes, which took a little extra time. If you're reasonably handy with tech and electronics, things like that, this is an easy upgrade that you can do yourself. If you're not comfortable with messing with things that have to do with electricity, feel free to hire an electrician. This is a very easy job they will be happy to do. But honestly, it's just switching out those wires, making sure the power's off before you do, and then mounting this guy on. And where we already set it up in the house where it's going outside, it just turns, once it's turned on, you're good to go. I personally put a piece of duct tape over top of the light switch that is to that floodlight, so it's always on now, so I don't have to worry about somebody going in the garage and accidentally flipping it off. Otherwise, we're set. It even came with a few extras. We have a few extra wire nuts. They gave us small and large wire nuts to connect it all with. I ended up just using the small ones, and then it had a couple extra screws, as well as this little white tab piece. This is to the cap to go over that big screw, so one day if you ever have to move it and pull it out, something like that, they do give you an extra one to fill that hole again so that it can reseal and be safe from the weather. You have your cleaning cloth. You now have another micro USB cable to add to that box of cables that you have that you're like, I don't know what they go to. There you go. You have this cool hook with a ribbon you can use for Christmas decorations or something else. I don't know, but I kind of liked that it had extras. It took into account that not everyone's setup is the same. All right, let's go ahead and check this guy out on Amazon and see what the price history is. So, starting price right now, it is listed as $299 right now for this 360 floodlight camera. This is definitely an upgrade from the other one, but also take into account we got those things like this right here, no monthly fees. Remember that, you don't have to pay a monthly fee to be able to access these videos anytime you want. So let's go ahead and check out the price history here on Honey. So if we scroll down and say 120 days, so we can see we got some deals went on. We have $240 back in May for a really good deal. That's a decent deal on this one. And then the average price is between $293 and $299. So a regular sale that you'll see. So if you want to hold out just a little bit, you'll find it for $293. That's $6 off of the regular price. But I found this on a Prime Day deal, which I think was like 30% off. It was $199. Yeah, look at that. I feel a little guilty, but also kind of proud. Keep an eye out for those deals. I'm willing to bet Black Friday's coming up. Check this guy out for Black Friday. I bet you it's going to go on sale for that $199, and you can't beat that price. $199 for a 360 camera. It's not like a full 360 camera. It is a pan. It is a what do you call that? Not a, yeah, pan and tilt, not PTZ because it doesn't zoom. Pan tilt camera that has a floodlight on it. It's 2K. It has motion detection. It has lots of really awesome features. So this one, compared to my doorbell, is fairly similar, but at the same time offers more features with things like the light that you can say, hey, turn on at this time of day. We'll go over some of those features here in a minute. But anyway, that's a really great deal. But regular prices are, like today, $299, but the sales come all the time for $293. So with this, I'm gonna go ahead and just give you my own opinion at this point. I purchased all of these with my own money. Unless I tell you at the beginning of the video that this is sponsored, I paid for everything myself. So this is something I bought myself with my own money, and I recommend it. If it's something I don't like and I'm not gonna recommend, honestly, if I made a video, I probably won't post it. Unless it's like terrible garbage, and then I'll make a video about like, hey, maybe stay away from this. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. This guy is awesome. It has a ton of features. However, it does have a lot of room to grow. Let's go ahead and go through the app. rather than jumping into my personal thoughts and review. I think it'll come out and I'll be able to verbalize what I think about it as I go through the app with you guys. So right here, you got a screenshot of my phone here. So we can see we have my driveway. I also have another cam. Got another one coming up in the future, and then we have my doorbell up here. So if we hit the little 3 dots there, you can see we have a gear, a moon, and a light bulb. So the light bulb turns on and off the floodlight manually. The moon actually gives you an option to snooze notifications. So if you're having friends come over, or if you're working in your driveway and you don't want the camera to constantly be like, hey, you're here, hey, you're here, you're here. And it's like, I know, it's me. Chill out. You can set it to snooze for 1, 2 hours, 30 minutes, 6 hours, and just hit save. And if you want, you can go ahead and cancel the snooze, and now it's back to regular. Let's go ahead and hit that settings gear and go into our settings. And now we can see all of our options to control this guy. So motion detection, we can control how it's done. We have things like activity zones. We talked about this in my other video, but you can see I have a highlighted area here. If you just hit that little plus sign in the bottom right, you can create another area that it looks at. So if you have, hey, only look at these 2 areas and like don't worry about right here. If it's a high traffic area, don't set it off. But where I have mine set up here, if it sees any motion in this area, it'll capture it and it'll start recording, things like that. Let's go ahead and go back. Human only, all motion. So if we want to only look for humans, if we only want to look for motion. So it's not perfect. Like I said, this does have a lot of room to grow. Today I pulled into the driveway and came into the house, but I came in pretty quick. And the camera didn't actually catch me walking into the house. And I was like, that's funny. It's because I have it on human only. I wonder if I switch it to all motion in that area, let's see how that does. And then if we scroll down, the human detection is actually pretty decent. If we scroll down here, we can see that we have our range detection. So on the left, about 5 feet to the left of the camera is my neighbor's yard. And so like they have dogs, they have decorations, things that move around regularly, sets it off all the time. So I have to turn that all the way down, that left area, middle area, and so I had to go into advanced range. There's an automatic and a standard, but I stuck with the advanced, doing it manually. And our middle area here, we set it to the furthest because that's the full length of the driveway all the way to the street. And then to the right, I have it brought in just a little bit so I'm not getting the neighbors. When we first got it, it was catching the neighbors. And I've actually had this for going on a month now, a little over a month now that we've been testing this out. So this is a pretty good test. We'll talk about more issues that I've had here in a minute. But to the right, you know, we had our neighbors on the other side of our fence, on the other side of our property, setting it off. So we had to bring that in a little bit. And then they have a test mode. I'm not gonna dig into that one. Feel free to yourself if you want to. Monitoring settings. So we have preset positions set up. So it knows like, hey, this is set position 1. If you're sitting anywhere, this is where I want it to be sitting. And then if we go to a set position 2, I've got it, okay, that's looking at as much of the backyard as I can. And then position 3 is looking down at the garage door. I have a pretty small area, so a 360 camera is not necessary, but it is a useful tool to have. So those are the options for your preset positions. Auto cruise is where it will cruise back and forth, just constantly scanning for motion, activity, things like that. You also have the motion tracking, so if it does see something moving, the camera will then move to see that, and then also follow it along as it goes. Where I have such a small area, position 1 covers almost everything except for down below and to the right. So if anything enters that area, it'll either enter the next section or the one to the right. So I'm not too worried about that. Out of view detection, I have enabled that. So like I said, I cut out my neighbor's yard because I don't want it constantly looking over, being like, hey, the neighbors are doing something. Ah, the neighbors! Chill out. I had to rein that in, so we set a left limit, and then on the right, it can spin all the way around, but there's a wall. You know, it's mounted on a wall, not on a corner, and so I set the right limit to being where it can see as much as possible with the door and everything in the home. So I set those up for out of view detection. And then auto calibration, we're letting it do its own calibrations for other things. Light settings, other things definitely need more training, more upgrades and firmware updates, and Eufy is making small updates as we go, but this is one of the coolest features they have going right now. So we have an ambient light, so it stays on from sunrise to sunset, and then motion activated, so when something moves in front of it, it turns on the floodlights, just like you would want a motion light to turn on. And then we have our manual control where we can go in and manually turn it on and off from my phone. If I'm like outside and I'm like, hey, just stay on, you can go in, turn it on, and it'll stay on. And then you can also control it with your Alexa and Google. And then you have additional settings like video settings. I'm not gonna dig into this one, but feel free to explore. Basically self-explanatory things here. Audio settings, so it does have a microphone and a speaker on it, which is actually really helpful. The first weekend that after we had moved in and after I'd installed this, my wife and I had gone to church, and all of a sudden I started getting like notification. I'm like, uh-oh, tons of motion, what's going on? So I pull up the camera, and our neighbors are in our backyard because our dogs had gotten out and went around the backside of the property and into their yard, and they're like, oh, hey, so they brought them back, and so we were able to like talk to them through the app because we didn't have their numbers yet. We were still new neighbors. We're like, hey, thank you so much, I'm so sorry. And they put the dogs back in the house and just closed them in the house. You can talk to people and they can talk to you. You can have a conversation back and forth, or, you know, warn some burglar, be like, hey, get off my property. Get off my lawn. Let's see, notification settings. You can change how it notifies you. You got most efficient, fuel efficient, and include a thumbnail. Most efficient says, hey, sends you a text on your notifications only. It's like, hey, there's motion. Fuel efficient is, it'll send you a text right away, and then if you don't get to it right away, it'll then send a picture. And then include thumbnail means it'll take time, but once it has a thumbnail available, it'll send out the thumbnail of that motion. And then you can change, my audio is the sound change, not this is how you change it. But motion alerts the sound notification, the push notification sound. So when it happens, I get a little drop sound. I'll just demonstrate it for you real quick here. Pretty simple, not obstructive. So if I'm at work, it's not gonna bug people if I'm getting a bunch of notifications. General has like our network settings, things like that. You can share this device with other people. So if you have a visitor house sitting for you, you can share these devices. And then we can go into tutorials, and then we can even share our feedback. And we have shared our feedback because there's been a couple of things that have been not awesome. It's a great camera, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not about to return it, or I wasn't even thinking about that. All right, you guys, I am actually reshooting this whole last segment. This is where I kind of go over the pros and cons of this security camera, because I started getting a little sidetracked and things started getting convoluted. So I reshot it like 3 times, and it just was still too messy. So I actually wrote everything down in a pros and con list, and we're gonna go through the whole list and cover each thing to hopefully not get so confusing. So we'll start with the con list. So number one is, the first issue we started having is it would just start randomly disconnect from the network. And we're like, well, that's weird. And so we blamed the router because like the whole network sometimes would just go down. But then other times like the rest of the network would be up and this was also disconnected still. And so we'd have to be like, go out there, reset it, reconnect to the network and sit there and troubleshoot it. Eventually it would reconnect, but it's a hassle to go out there, get up on a ladder, pull it off, hit the reset, like all that stuff is just a little more hassle than I want to deal with it. And especially when you have like activity zones, you have to move the camera to be able to get to that reset button, and if you're moving the camera around, your activity zone just got changed. So what we did first is we replaced our router. We have it was actually a really good router. It's a Netgear Nighthawk, and it was, now thinking about it, I don't think it was the main problem of the issue. So we replaced that and we went directly through our internet company to get a whole, like the gateway. So it's a modem and router all in one. And the gateway worked good, but we were still having connection issues where the whole internet would drop out and then come back and then drop out. And we're like, geez. And so we had them come out and take a look at the lines, and it turns out that our network lines that were running to the house from the street were really old. And so they're like, yeah, this is likely what the issue is. So they replaced the lines coming in. And then I think we also upgraded the box again, our router box. So we upgraded all of those things. And so now our internet doesn't go out randomly, but this was still, and it still does, randomly disconnect. It's a little weird. So we figured out, okay, after doing some research on the Eufy forums and going through manuals and stuff, it only connects on 2.4 gigahertz networks. And it'll even tell you that when you're connecting, like, hey, make sure you're only connecting to a 2.4 gigahertz network. So what you have to do is you actually have to go into your network, your gateway web page, and change the settings on your router to say, hey, the 5 gigahertz and the 2.4 gigahertz networks are separate. So you do have to do that for these guys to hopefully stem those issues of it getting disconnected, because ones like our router, it'll just assign the device to the network that it thinks it needs, because it's like, oh, hey, you're really close, let's put you on the 5. And it's like, well, actually, I don't work on 5 gigahertz. And it's like, well, you're going on 5, and it's like disconnected. At least we thought that. But once we got them split, every once in a while, this one still disconnects. I don't know what's going on. It's weird. So one day, I decided to get a wild hair in me, and I took the router, and I stuck it out the window of my home. Literally just hanging by the wires outside the window, and then straight line of sight from the router to the garage. It's maybe 40 feet, maybe 30 feet. Like, it's not very far. I would guess closer to 20 feet. Okay, not far. It still wasn't connecting. Like, it's as if our garage is repelling Wi-Fi. It's weird. I don't know if it's this here or something else going on over there, but for some reason this still does not like to connect over there. Since I've started doing some troubleshooting with Eufy, it just has been behaving. So as I'm trying to like troubleshoot these issues, the issues have gone away, and they're like, hey, try this, and I'm like, cool, but it has to like disconnect, and randomly it'll just connect and be great for a while, and then disconnect, and maybe you don't even notice when it disconnects. Anyway, I did this to thin this out. That is my segment on the disconnecting. It might be this device, but it also might be some weird thing going on with the internet over there. Number 2 on my con list is the auto push notifications. Like, you do get push notifications of like motion and activity in the area for things you have turned on, but I think it would be really nice to have an auto push notification that says, hey, you know what, this device hasn't reported in for 30 minutes. Hey, this device is disconnected, and it sends a notification like, hey, your camera is disconnected. Hey, your camera is disconnected. It's still disconnected. So that's something that I think would be useful, is to have something like that would say, hey, you're disconnected. The next thing is on recording. I see this more of an issue with my doorbell than I do with this 360 camera, but it still does happen. I wish that it would be always recording and just rewriting over the same 60-second clip until it gets triggered, and then it'll save, 20 seconds before the trigger, so you can see somebody walking up. You can see what's happening before they trigger the security camera, because if somebody's trying to be sneaky, maybe they'll get away with it for a few seconds before they trigger the security camera, And so a lot of times, like when we get packages, it's when I see it with my doorbell, when we get packages, all we see is the guy dropping the package. We didn't see him walking up, we didn't see him anything else, and so half the time, he's halfway turned around, dropping the package, and on the way out of here. So it'd be nice if it could record before the trigger and then continue. Also, the activity zones on the doorbell and on this, one has the ignore option on your activity zones, like, hey, let me know if there's anything here, and then ignore anything here. But one and not the other. Like, why not have all of it on both of them, Anchor? This one's for you. Like, directly, I'm talking to you. Eufy security, why? Why do you offer it on one but not the other? Lastly, the last con is human recognition. It's good and it's bad. The bad side of it is that sometimes it doesn't see people coming and going. Like, there's sometimes when I'll come out the side door of my home, into the driveway, get in my car to go to work, and it doesn't see me. And then there's other times when it's going off, but there's no human to be seen. It's just a weird reflection on a window that it now thinks is a human. So those are the cons on this. Now, let's look at the pros, because there's a lot of them. This is why I'm keeping this. These cons are all little nitpicky things. These are all of the actual problems that I've run into. None of them are enough for me to say, hey, I'm taking this down, I'm sending it back. Pro number one, no monthly fees. I love that I don't have to pay a monthly fee. I bought this. I now have a security system at my home that I can monitor, that lets me know if there's an issue, that lets me know if there's like motion or activity in the area. That's awesome. If you do want additional services, you can sign up for the 911 service, things like that, but they're not required. That's the number one reason why I went with Eufy. Number two, push notifications. I don't have to be home. I don't have to be connected to the same Wi-Fi network to get those push notifications. I could be on the other side of the country and I'll still get those push notifications if something happens here. Next, internal storage. It does store all of the video on the device, so it can store up to 30 days of video events. It's 45 triggers a day, and it'll store 30 days worth of that, and I don't think we even touch that. We get maybe 6 or 7. We're not in a super high traffic area, which is nice, because I imagine getting 45 messages from your camera every day. Oof. So I'm pretty happy with that. If it was to record continuously, it would be equivalent to 5 days. The next pro here is the ease of navigation and understanding the user interface. So in the app, and like the whole setup process is actually really easy, self-explanatory. I felt confident myself doing the whole process. I didn't feel like I needed to hire an electrician. I didn't need to hire a professional. I could do all of this myself, and I think anyone that is savvy with a cell phone, can use an iPhone, would be competent and equipped to set this up themselves. The only thing that you might run into is wiring this to an existing light or getting new wires run in. You may not feel confident with that. You can hire an electrician, that's just fine. I feel confident with that myself. The next pro is the 2K resolution. I love that it has 2K resolution. It'd be cool if it had like the zoom feature, but that also then cuts out anything that it could have been seeing otherwise. And with the 2K feature, you can crop in on a picture rather than zooming in on something and cutting out everything around it. You can crop in and see, hey, I can see that person, I can see those features, and be able to identify somebody. Rather than having a standard 1080p resolution, you get 2K video. That's a really great one. And then lastly, the same last one as our con list, the human recognition, which I think is really awesome feature. It's not perfect yet, and they're still growing, but I think it's really awesome that it's able to start looking for things like humans, because when we first set it up, we had it to all motion in these areas, and our neighbor has a flag that just so happened to be just in the corner of the view where you could just barely see it, and it was constantly setting off the security system. So I had to, of course, adjust it, and that's why we have that left side limit when I was setting up the camera. If I set it to human, it has less issues with that. There still are false triggers, things like that, but it's still cool that it can kind of use an AI to figure that out. I think that Eufy still has a good long ways to go. They have to figure things out, like the software on these, and that's all stuff that can be done over the air, sending out updates, firmware, things like that to the device to help it operate better for the users. And I think that's something that Eufy can and should do. I'm going to continue to send my feedback using that feedback button in the app to help them develop this to be better. Overall, I definitely recommend this one. If you want to get it for yourself, there is a link up in the corner here or down in the description below. I'll have links to this, as well as the rest of my security setup will be bunched together there. If you'd like to help support this channel, one of the things you can do is this, watching to the end of the video. Thank you so much. But also down in the description below, if you use those Amazon links to go to Amazon and then do your shopping from there, you don't even have to buy those items. Just do your shopping after clicking on those links. Clicking those links do help support this channel. If you have questions about this floodlight camera and maybe you're having issues with yours, send me a message down in the comments and I will try and get to that one so we can help troubleshoot any issues you run into together, and maybe even make it a video in the future saying, hey, this is a known issue, this is the solution. Hopefully I can do that for you guys. So comment down below with what you'd like to see next as well, and I will see you guys in the next one.